Welcome back, and now for your favorite section, which I call the nation's sharpest opinion. And tonight on the nation's sharpest opinion, I want to look a little bit in detail at the Adani counter to the Financial Times report. Now, the Adani counter was published yesterday, and Adani got very aggressive. And Adani said the Financial Times is lazy, has been lazy in its reporting. Now, the Financial Times had basically said that almost half of Adani's foreign direct investment came from quote-unquote opaque overseas entities, hinting that this is a case of round-tripping. All sounds very shady. Of course, FT used a lot of generalizations based on this one so-called fact, and around that they tried to weave a narrative that basically meant saying that shady money whose source nobody knew where it was from was making its way back to India through the Adani group. A lot of creative writing around that one so-called fact. Now, if you look at the sum total of the many arguments made versus Adani and the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of negative and critical stories published, this is just one of them. So you are probably asking, why am I even talking about it? Well, I am, because it's not the story that I find interesting. I find the Adani response interesting, very interesting. Because somewhere Adani's approach is changing. Instead of rolling over and letting it pass, Adani is sort of going after FT on this one. Now, Adani getting aggressive itself is a new angle, and Adani now claims that the Financial Times itself has reported in the past the fact that in two separate, clearly published transactions, the Adani promoters have raised $2.7 billion through legitimate stake sales in two companies. And that this is publicly available information. Not least, according to Adani, all of this was reported by the FT itself. So Adani basically is saying that elementary research shows that the money raised through the sale of equity, and that since this has been well known and documented, it is bizarre to build a narrative of opaque or shady money coming into the group through foreign entities. Now, viewers, at this stage, you and I need to pause and think. Is this counterclaim of Adani true? And if it is, bottom line, if it is, big if yet, then what is it that the opposition has been claiming? If the FT story is incorrect or not wholly correct, which in my view is incorrect, then has the group that has used this Adani issue as a political prop been misguided this whole while? The whole question raised has been on money flows. But if the FT story is not correct, and if the Adanis were selling equity legitimately and legitimately rerouting it to their fund to further their own business, which in simple English means selling a bit of your equity, getting money and pumping that legitimate money back to push your business, and if this transaction had been reported in the past by the FT itself, then where the hell is the illegality in it? So tonight I'm asking on the nation's sharpest opinion that has there been too much stretching of facts, too much elasticity with facts in the process of politicizing the Adani case? Ladies and gentlemen, here's what has happened, a brief summary, and then we will debate.
On March 22nd, the London-based Financial Times put out a 910-word story titled "Indian Data Reveals Adani Empire's Reliance on Offshore Funding."
The Financial Times articles claims that almost half of Adani's FDI, nearly $2.6 billion, came from opaque overseas entities. They allege that the funds are of unclear provenance and they helped Adani during the time of crisis. The article also claims that a labyrinth network of mostly Mauritius-based shell companies appeared to have been used to route the funds.
Immediately, in India, the Vadra Congress used it to launch a political attack.
20,000 crore rupees or $3 billion are in shell companies owned by Mr. Adani. Mr. Adani could not have generated this money. He's an infrastructure business. Where did this money come from? Whose money is it? That was the first question. Whose shell companies are there? These companies are working in the defense field. Why does nobody know whose money this is?
Immediately after Hindenburg, Gautam Adani had assured investors.
The fundamentals of our company are very strong. Our balance sheet is healthy and assets robust. Our EBITDA levels and cash flows have been very strong, and we have an impeccable track record of fulfilling our debt obligation.
But now, in what is perhaps the sharpest counter since the controversy surfaced, the Adani Group has written to the Financial Times demanding the article is taken down, calling it all a mendacious effort to paint the Adani Group in bad light. The group says all financial details have already been disclosed. The 20,000 crore sum is a direct result of a stake sale in various Adani subsidiaries.
The Adani Group CFO took to Twitter to claim deliberate misinterpretation by London media and asked if they or their reporters were part of a politicized hit job. The Adani Group undoubtedly has lots to answer.
Sure, Adani has a lot of things to sort out. The regulators, the banks, those he owes money to, and his investors. And they all have some really serious cleaning up to do. But this whole hype about an Adani crisis hitting India.
But is Financial Times creating a controversy where there is none? Let's debate.